And we are live. How are you, Seth?
What is up, Asaf? Just had to find the mute button. There we go. Hey, Asaf. Hey,
Oh,
everyone.
hello,
Hi, all of our
everyone.
friends from all over the world. Hey, David from the beach in Quebec. Hi, Azukena, if I'm saying that right. I always see
Yeah,
you on Facebook. Hi. And oh, we have Ali with us and Biruk in Ethiopia. Maybe your brother's with you. And Cece. Hey, Cece.
yeah, some
Okay,
familiar
good. Bright
names
made it.
tuning in right from the start.
What's going on?
Anyone who's joining, tell us where you're watching from. Gives us a great feeling, and then we can do a global check and see all the places in the world that are connected right now.
I can easily see the who's joining us on Facebook. I don't easily see who's joining us on YouTube. Maybe you could see that better. So if you can say hi
Yeah,
over there,
YouTube
because I
people,
don't
tell
see.
us where you're from. I'm seeing Northern California. I'm
Okay.
seeing Neil. I'm seeing Prince. I'm seeing Stasia. Um,
Shalom, Jensen. Good to have you here from New York. And Shira, of course, Geraldine. Oh, Geraldine from South Africa. There we go. It's really, we talked about it so many times already, but, and I hope we can open it up what it means in this generation to have people opening up to the wisdom of Kabbalah like this, and how each of these people represents in the kind of the structure of the soul, and how all these people from, it's not like we have like 1,000 people from
hmm,
a certain country. If there's 100 people who are going to be with us live, it
yeah,
probably represents like 30 or 40 countries or something like that. It's
so
very interesting.
distributed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But we have other things to talk about. We also have an amazing guest today, an incredible woman, longtime friend, deep Kabbalist, uh,
We'll
warm
talk about
heart.
her more later.
We'll talk
Let's
about her
leave
in a little bit
leave
later.
some of the
Let's start
surprise
with the
element.
confusion, Asaf.
The
Let's start with the
confusion.
confusion that the
Absolutely.
confusion. So
Yeah.
I was taking yesterday was the last day of school, which doesn't, and I have two teenage boys here.
All
So
right.
the last day of school doesn't feel so different from the first day of summer because just still waking up late, and
Right.
usually it's a big dramatic thing, but it doesn't feel so dramatic. But yesterday we had to go to school to drop off all the textbooks. So we had to wear, they sent an email, we had to wear masks, and we had to drive up to the school and roll down the window, and then say our name and pass the books out the window, and they had to find the name on the sheet and check the books in, and then you had to go around the
Yeah.
corner and get your belongings that were in your locker. They gave everyone a bag of all their stuff that was in the school. And on the way, after we left, we were driving through town, this little college town here in New Jersey, and the coffee shops were open, and Lululemon was open, and
Hmm.
Urban Outfitters was open, and the streets were packed. And I don't know how many people were going in and out, but people were definitely going in and out of the stores, and there was people like up and down the streets. Now, I don't know. It's hard to tell really who to believe. I keep going to this website called World Meter or something like that to see like how many people are, what's going on in all the countries with deaths and reported cases. And
Yeah.
it looks like the
Yeah.
reported cases are going up by like 500,000 every few days. And it looks like the deaths now in the US are going up by, I think like 800 a day. Now, I don't
Hmm.
know. So if they're
Wow.
saying, oh, well, this person was like diabetic and he was like, 300 pounds overweight, and they attributed his death to COVID. I don't know exactly. So I'm not, but so say there's a 20%, a 30%, the
But
margin of error. I don't know. But
mhm.
hundreds of people a day are, you were going to say something?
No, no, no. Yeah. Just like
Okay.
there's a
So,
lot to
so
say, but it's just
people, yeah, I don't really, I mean, we understand from the Kabbalist, putting on our Kabbalistic hat, why this is going like this. But as far as like what we see on the outside, if we're just waking up and like living our life, we don't see so many people dying. I mean, China's got billions of people, and they're shutting down China again
I'd
because
say
30
I'd say
people.
this. It's look, some of us tell ourselves COVID is nothing, right? There's this two extremes. So some people say it's
And it's
nothing.
almost based on your
It's
political affiliation.
you
Weird.
could say that, sure, political affiliation, what the mainstream media you're subscribed to, and all that.
Yeah.
But some people on one end of the spectrum, you have people saying this is nothing. It's come on, it's nothing. It doesn't even exist. and you even have on the far side of that, like it's a conspiracy theory and whatnot. And then on the other side, you have people who are extremely panicking, or who are, feeling it on their flesh because their friend, their relative, or whatever was in contact with or had it even, or something.
If you hear the stories from the medical people on the front line, it's crazy. I mean,
Right.
their stories, you think it's like a totally different world than you see out on the streets. They're like, people coming in, getting
So,
sick, all
so at the
different
same
ages.
time, you have people saying it doesn't exist and are completely indifferent to it, and then you also have people who are in extreme panic. And in the middle, I would say, is most of the public being just swayed by the media. Every day, oh, it is happening. It's not happening. We're all, and then it's like experts are warning us about mutations. There's a new one. They call it now G416 something along these lines. Can't remember. They're saying it has mutated to like a strain of coronavirus that is already 10 times more infectious. So experts are talking to us about this virus mutating, shape-shifting, while on the other hand, economies are like reopening. You see, increasing numbers of confirmed cases and deaths and so on, and infections rising up again. And then on the other hand, I heard tourism is now reopening. It's summertime in so many places. You can't stop, the tourism from happening. You got to open. I don't know who will go, but all the countries are now trying to open the skies again. And COVID itself also, it's a huge debate. At first, I read a bunch of, like you said, medical experts talking about it. They say at first we thought it's a respiratory disease, and the main thing is to put a person who has it, and if it develops into an extreme case, put them on a breathing machine, respiratory machine and all that. How do you call them? Forget how you call them.
Respirator?
Anyway, respirators. So, but now they're seeing that it causes various systemic effects that our body is really creating the side effects that we call COVID-19.
Probably everybody has a story about how it's affecting them, or they know somebody who dealt with it. By the way, Asaf, Ami is back from Afghanistan. Hi, Ami. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Alice from Portugal's here. Brandy from California. Hey, everybody.
Shira Land is saying, as usual, there's no balanced view regarding what's happening. But you know what? Let's go back to this. I think that it's worthwhile for us to explain why there's no balanced view. Okay? Let me convince you, Seth. Let me convince you that it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's part of the plan. This is what's really happening. See where I'm going? It's all part of the plan.
Kabbalah? Okay.
It's whose plan? Nature's plan. Here's the thing. We are, for the first time in human history, we're going through an epic, fundamental, major transformation never happened before in history.
All of humanity
at once. And we don't understand what is happening to us. And you can see that not just in COVID, also in the whole George Floyd protests, looters, whatever it has become, that kind of thing. Elections are coming up in the US. All of the countries in the world are in this debate between closing the schools, or keeping them open, or changing the whole education system. What are we doing with our economies? Jobs are not coming back. On the other hand, we have AI and automation.
Just tell me why it's happening already.
Nature is both revealing and concealing towards us what is happening to us at the same time. And that is because...
Hold on. That's a big concept right there.
All right.
Nature is revealing and concealing.
Until this point in human history, We've been
Yeah.
developing, sure, things happened. Human society has evolved tremendously. In the last 100 years alone, we grew from 2 billion people to 8 billion people, and that changed dramatically everything in humanity. And even before that, we went from all the way back, you can take me to whatever, primitive man, Neanderthals, or hunter gatherers, all the way to today's modern society. All of that evolution that we went through is unlike what we're going through right now. And that's because nature, for the first time, is putting us into a process of transformation of ourselves. We call this in the wisdom of Kabbalah the spiritual transformation of humanity.
So
And
to recount, we went from the development went from inanimate to vegetative, and then the planet was covered in plants, and then eventually there was some kind of animals, and then eventually the animals, stood up and started walking, and now you're talking about a next step.
I'm talking about the animals who started to walk are now really, for the first time, um, and this is really from the pretty much the beginning of the 21st century. These animals walking on two legs are now beginning to recognize what makes them more qualitatively different than the animal level. We're going to actually discover what the human level is. In Kabbalah, it's called the speaking level,
The spiritual level.
the spiritual level of development. And here's the thing, no one understands how spiritual development, spiritual transformation actually works. And that's why we have no idea what's happening to us. We're going to see how leaders have no idea how to manage populations. We're going to see how economists have no idea how to predict with their economic models what's going to happen. We're going to see how technology experts are going to have no idea what's the right way to use the technology in order for people to actually benefit from it in a way that it will continue and develop. We're going to see a lot of confusion, so get ready, brace yourself. And the reason is that we're going through spiritual transformation, and spiritual transformation is a process. And please continue what I'm gonna put down, just pick it up and take it further. Spiritual transformation, there's a condition for it to happen. It has to happen through concealment, through confusion, through...
First of all, I want to first of all, hold
Yes,
on. I want
go
to know
ahead.
that spiritual. I mean, you're talking about it like everybody knows it's some kind of good thing. I think we have to first of all say what it is. What we're talking about up until that point, we started out as just some mush. Nobody had a clue what they were. You look at plants, every plant is connected in a network. We talked about the mushrooms underground,
Sure.
all the plants, the trees communicate to each other. All of the sunflowers open together and close together. All of the vegetative level, meaning the plants and the flowers, they all do the same thing when the sun comes out and when the sun goes in, and they have their motion. Then the cow, each cow kind of is, they're all moving together, like we see birds moving together, but they're each kind of a little bit different between each kind of animal. When you get to this, the spiritual level, what we're talking about now, all of a sudden each person, well, before the spiritual level, each one of us feels we're completely separate than the rest, right? Look at me with my jacket, or look at you with your plaid shirt, and I'm
Yeah.
here and you're there, and I have this and you have that, and I like my coffee like that, with the out the sugar, you like with the sugar, and each one is so specific. And then comes the next level that we're talking about, spirituality, that we realize that who we are is something beyond our skin. It means that we're all part of one organism together, just like when we were that blob of plasma all the way back billions of years ago. But
Mm-hmm.
now we're all one, except we're all one from a unique vantage point. So we all are contributing equally. Every human is necessary and perfect and contributing to the whole equally and from their unique vantage point, instead of us being all, because, we're all one when we were plasma, or when we were all stardust.
Yeah.
Now we can all be one. So I just wanted to give a little backstory. When you say spiritual, for me, it was missing a little bit of the emotion. So I just wanted to put in there what I
Yeah,
know
sure,
what you mean.
sure. We can actually frame it, define it. Put words, different words into that term, spiritual transformation or spiritual development. We are for the first time developing our um, our connections to each other and our species as a network. We have we we have been developing as individuals, and we've just been following the inertia of the human ego. So we've moved from developing one thing to another thing to, oh, we need better medicine, let's try to, to die, not die as early as we are, and then we started prolonging our longevities, or whatever. We developed technologies and communication. All those things are based on our desires for individual development. What spiritual development is about, it is about changing our very desire and purpose of life, for life itself. The drive to life will have to change. And here's the thing: we don't see our future spiritual connected state. We don't see it, but we're moving towards it. And that's why the confusion. That's why I'm saying there is concealment over what is happening right now. But that is deliberate. That is deliberate. We can't know exactly what we're moving towards, because then we'll have no desire for it. What nature wants from human beings is to develop a conscious desire for that connection you were talking about. So at first we were a blob, or stardust, or whatever you want to call it, and we were connected as this one thing. But guess what? Who felt it? Who remembers it? Who knows it? Who attains it? Who senses it? We don't have the senses for our interconnectivity, for this integrality, for this oneness that we are. And then we have to develop as independent, separate human beings first, and reach all the way grow in that all the way into the 21st century. And now begins the point in time where we're beginning to consciously develop as a network, as a connected system.
In order to do that, we have this thing called concealment, revelation and concealment. And we talked about this before, when you can only enjoy something when you want it. So first, we didn't even know that this is what's happening. We just felt, I wake up in the morning, I take care of myself, I brush my teeth, I go to work for my money, I do my life. So there's this new way that we need to live now, that nature's demanding us to live into. We don't know what it is, so we have to build a desire for it. What happens with this revelation and concealment, and what's so interesting, and our guest did a whole show about this with the Kabbalist Dr. Lightman, about mask, because so much communication takes place in the face and all that, and now it's all concealed.
That's
When
an
you
interesting anecdote as well.
really,
Yeah.
let's open that up with her, but that's
Okay.
amazing. So interesting how the spiritual and the physical become so close with the masach and the mask and all that. So when you if you're a little bit hungry, you can get a little bit of pleasure from eating. It's like, imagine if you have your favorite meal or sex or whatever it is, that, whatever thing it is, but if the desire could keep growing while you're being, imagine it's a meal. It's just simple. I know it's not so dramatic and beautiful example, but imagine there's a meal and it's your favorite meal, but as you're eating it, somehow you can continue to, because normally what happens, as soon as you start eating, your appetite goes down,
Right.
right? So as soon as you have the concealment, meaning the emptiness, the unrevealed thing, the hunger, and then the revelation is like the eating, the putting it in, filling, the plus. As soon as you start eating, it starts to cancel the minus. So imagine if there's a way to constantly build the minus as you're revealing, and then build the minus more as you're revealing. It's basically, Asaf, if we can live into this, it's the most amazing movie, book, story ever, and we're in it right now. It's like nature is totally flirting with us, totally drawing us in, and then revealing and drawing us in with it, like concealing and reveal, like you said, concealing and revealing. We
That
need to.
you said
Oh,
it.
don't hear. There we go.
Yeah, you see, you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm saying you just said it. Flirt. That really is the best example with for what's happening to us right now with nature. You know, if you think about like I don't know, a boy and a girl, meeting each other, falling in love or whatever we call it, there has to be this
Don't blow it off so
this
flippantly.
no okay, no, I respect it. I respect it. I do respect it, but after a while it goes away. Why does it go away? Because in our world,
Because the guy's like, and like dripping and like, hey, honey, can you get me? And picking his nose. You
yeah, but
lose
even
all of the
before that,
concealment. Okay.
exactly. But before that happens, there's a constant flirt that's going on, right? You show a little bit, but you hide a little bit more. You show a little bit more, but you hide even more than that. Then she shows and hides, and you show and you hide, and there's this constant concealment between you. But that concealment is what drives and fuels the excitement, the interest, the attraction. Nature wants us to be attracted and drawn to our future state. That's why it's putting us in this situation where it's crisisy on the one hand. It's very bad what's happening in the world. On the other hand, the potential. Never before in history we had the potential to be living in a world where, you know what? We can feed and clothe and house everyone in the world several times over. There's no problem. We can do it in a matter of days. Literally in a matter of days. We
Feed
have
the entire planet in a matter of days.
the most amazing infrastructure, the internet, right? To create education. Think about free education for everyone in a way that really elevates everyone in their in such an unparalleled way. We're not even grasping what we can do with the communication systems we have established and all the rest. We have the potential is there, but the reality is that we find ourselves in such a surreal situation, right? And that's why these conflicting views are going to continue to grow, and there's going to be an even bigger and bigger gap opening up, like a chasm between where we can be, the potential future state, and where we are. And in that gap, we're going to have to build our desire for the connected state, the inevitably yet connected state of mankind. And nature wants us to have this desire. It doesn't want to just like flip a coin, like, and that's it. We're connected and everyone cares for each other, and that's not a human being developing. Human beings development is about consciousness and free choice. And that's why
If you put
yeah.
I'm sorry, if you put me on Everest, I would be cold and I would be uncomfortable and I would not know what I was doing there. But if I was a mountain climber, like losing a toe could be like a mark of honor. It could for it to frostbite. I'm into that.
Well, even before the toe, they before losing a toe, they spend so much effort and practice and training, and they are exhausted as they're climbing up the mountain. But that's the adventure itself, isn't it?
Right. So the Kabbalist is looking at what's happening as if like a climber, a pro climber climbing Everest. We're not looking at it like a guy who just showed up with no education, doesn't understand, no preparation, and all of a sudden he's cold, he doesn't have the equipment. So that's what we're doing here in the wisdom of Kabbalah. We're becoming like that climber who's prepared, he's educated, he understands the conditions. And what happens for that climber? If that climber just had to go over like a tiny hill, he would have, I mean, it's just an example, but if he had to just, walk to get a bottle of milk, and he had to, at the store and go over a hill, it's not a lot of fulfillment.
Yeah.
But to sleep out there in the windstorm, in the snow, and climb and cook, in the little tent and do everything, it's such a feeling of contentment. Now, David Mancini, of course, has this interesting perspective. He says, oh, well, then we can't go all the way to the creator. If the creator just wants to flirt with us, so disappointing. No, David, actually, in fact, you can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. The point is, if you imagine, like Asaf was saying, that first love, when there's all of that attraction between you, and then you go look at them, 10 years later married, and the guy's sitting on the couch and the woman's in the other room doing her own thing, and there's no concealment, and so they're too close. They lost the that power of attraction and rejection between them. So we want to continue. We want to actually, by using these spiritual tools, we learn how to constantly, because the vessel keeps growing, constantly go through this. It's actually infinite, David. So keep studying. You're only just beginning Kabbalah Revealed 2 this week. So keep going, David. Okay, are we almost ready for our special guest?
Yeah, I would just say this, just to kind of, really try to put words to this process that we're going through. It's critical to, in order to not be like a beaten animal, like you said, to be like, how did you call it? Like not knowing anything. You had a word for it? Not knowing what's happening to me. Where am I going? What where am I supposed to go? And then the whole thing feels like just confusing and painful. What we need to understand, and that is something we can do with the help of the Kabbalists, with the help of the wisdom of Kabbalah, is we can develop a vision of the future, and we can understand, begin to read the patterns by which nature is developing us. We start from a point where we don't want to be connected. That's where humanity is now, on the whole, in general.
We feel all the differences between political parties, races, everything. We feel different. We feel separate.
Okay, and what's the next point? The next point is we discover, you know what? We're interdependent. We depend on each other. Our well-beings are completely dependent on each other. Whether we like it or not, we're going to have to connect to each other. And then gradually, we're going to develop a desire to want to connect to each other because it's actually good. We can build a wonderful world. And ultimately, we'll want to connect to each other because through that, we discover our connection with nature itself. And so all of that lies in store for us. I see our guest is already here. Norma, are you with us? Until she... no, not yet. I think she went on and off. And yeah.
Ami in Afghanistan said she lost a relative to COVID today. She's asking a question. Ami, wow, our hearts are with you. Okay, so we are going to we will make time at the end or through the show to get to everybody's questions. So we see all your comments and questions. Okay.
We're with you, Ami, and we will get to questions later on. Probably with our guest. I see that Norma is trying to connect. Something's
Norma
not...
okay, audio's... Okay, so Norma...
I think she's
Livne here. She's with us. So Norma, before they were as corrupt as they are today, Norma was a former NBC and CNN reporter. Today, she is the host of an incredible show called El Mundo, where she speaks in the Spanish language, where she explores the current affairs with the Kabbalist Dr. Lightman. Amazing friend, beautiful woman. Norma, such a warm heart. Thank you for being with us. Can you say something so we know you're with us?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
I can keep going a little bit.
Spiritual, patient.
Let's actually, let's just really tell our viewers, like, this is, it's not to be taken for granted. This is a person who knows the mainstream media inside and out. She's been there. She knows how it really works for many years ago. And then today, Norma, you're on, like, I don't know if to say the other side, but you're seeing reality from a whole new perspective, and you're also utilizing your skills and abilities as a journalist and as a reporter and as someone who can really delve into things and research and understand how things work. You're doing that now from the vantage point of the wisdom of Kabbalah. So, how are you?
First of all, I was amazed listening to you. I don't think that you need a guest at all. And first of all, thank you for the invitation. I love the show. I think it's really upbeat. I love also the diversity, people connected from all over the world. The subjects are always interesting. So it's really a pleasure to be here with you, friends. In the beginning, I was a little bit nervous. I thought maybe I don't fit in this dynamic, so young and fresh. I told the staff, bring
That's
a
you, Asaf.
pillow
I'm already
just in
old.
case. But here we are, ready for the questions and to have a good talk with you
So,
guys.
Here we are.
Norma,
I got some
uh,
questions, but Seth has one too, so we're gonna compete.
I just wanted to say before we get to the questions, and there are many, and some of our friends are happy to see a woman here with us too. Um, Norma, you've been traveling with our teacher, Rav Lightman, for many years, and not in the sense of like a fortune teller or something, but the Kabbalist, the light shines in the Kabbalist's vessel, and so what it's like, having a flashlight, you see things. He's been talking about things for probably over 10 years, or at least 10. I know I've seen videos and things of you with him for probably 10 years already, traveling around the world to all kinds of conferences, speaking about all of the things that are like ahead of the curve, talking about the things that would be happening. Can you talk maybe just a little bit, just glance over that from a high level of what you heard through all these, maybe just touch on one or two of the events that you were at together? I don't know if it's one of the UNESCO events, or I don't know, all different kind of things that you did together where he was talking about the world that we need to move into before these things happened. He already saw that nature was, and of course nobody wanted to hear, but maybe that's a good place to start, because this is not like a Johnny come lately kind of thing. This is something that the Kabbalists have been trying to prepare everybody for, this transition.
Yeah, I can tell you for sure that being a journalist, I'm a very skeptical person, probably the most skeptical person that you've ever met. And having the opportunity to travel with Rob Lightman, especially to South America, to Latin America, and in some cases to the US as well, and also Europe for special meetings that I had the opportunity to organize together with the team, of course, because this is a work team. And I can tell you that there's no doubt that we have a very special teacher, a very special Kabbalist, the foremost Kabbalist for this generation. And the reason I'm convinced of that is the fact that I've seen in front of my eyes uh, all the situation in the world revealing according to what he said many years ago. And it's not fortune telling, as you said, it's a higher level of attainment that he reaches. And that's why he's able to see so clearly what it's going to unfold and ahead of time, of course. But I'm talking about decades. It happened with the global crisis. I'm sure that Asaf can also share some experiences, also traveling in some congresses, especially for the North American congresses, how Rav spoke back then, maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, about the situation in the US, in Europe, in the world, how we're going to see crisis. And everybody said, what kind of crisis? Everybody's so happy. Everybody's traveling all over the world. And all of a sudden, we have an invisible enemy, so small, so tiny, that is causing so much disruption in the world that if you heard that back then, you probably said, that's unheard of. That's impossible. We
Mhm.
are in a very stable situation. The world is the best place that ever been. And then all of a sudden, the world is in a very bad state and nobody knows how to deal with it. And the only person I heard that knows the solution is Dr. Lightman. Why? Because he looks at things from a higher perspective. And all of us look at it from the corporeal, earthly level. And I think that's why I think we have the privilege to be his students, and we shouldn't take it for granted. We are in front of someone who's very, very special, for sure.
So
But there's-
these days, you want to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. These days, Norma, you're doing a very interesting kind of news show together with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman. By the way, I saw someone on the chat who saw your Jacqueline Shimmy as soon as she saw you here. She said, "Love your interviews, Norma." So that's what I wanted to ask about. So you're doing this show.
Thank you.
You're aiming it more for the Spanish-speaking audience, but you're really talking about global issues. And sometimes there are I also follow pretty much everything that's happening there. Sometimes you touch upon very interesting angles. Now, Seth and I just brought up something earlier. We talked about revelation and concealment and how that happens with us right now. You had an interesting talk with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman about the masks and what would be the right way to wear a mask, or the right intention with which to wear a mask. Can you talk about that a little bit? What went on there? What do you remember? It was an exciting conversation.
Yeah, actually it is. This is another example of a different kind of perspective that I haven't heard anywhere else, except through the Dr. Lightman. And it's the new reality. Some people call it the faceless society all over the world. And we are covered, our faces are covered. So you may think that this is something really bad because you don't know how to relate to each other. There's a new kind of communication. You don't know how to read other people's intentions. You don't see the expressions, you know, that it's not only the words, but also the body language that expresses, conveys a message, conveys who the person behind the mask is. But now we are half covered, and what could be interpreted as something bad, he gives a different meaning, a deeper meaning, which is that mask wearing could be an interesting situation, and it's beneficial to understand that we don't know or recognize the person in front of us. It is better to relate to the person as a stranger who we don't really understand, and it will force us to connect through the hearts rather than through the externality of the person.
Because it's so easy to
Ooh.
fake on the externality.
Ooh.
Right.
Wait.
I can make a nice commercial and to get you to do something and just be stabbing you in the back or pulling something out of your pocket while I'm dancing for you with my fancy face in front of you.
So there's something here that's happening on the psychological, emotional, social level beyond just the covering our faces, it helps us evolve to a deeper level of human connection of sorts, you would say?
Correctly. Exactly. Yeah, the externality in this case would be conceived as something that is a barrier. It's a distraction. And that's why we are so concerned about the way we look, the color of our skin, the way we behave, how we, especially for women, being a woman, there's so much pressure on the way we look. Why? Because we live in a society that values externality. So now the virus, COVID-19, is bringing us this new perspective, this new chance and opportunity to look at others from a different perspective, which is a deeper perspective. So I won't connect to you because you're handsome, which is the case, but because you have a good heart. And I also want to connect with other fellow friends, because I feel that there's an internality that is beyond the externality, that is connecting us inside each other. And it's creating a kind of network.
Beautiful.
That it's able to draw a higher force, which is the upper force.
It's I don't think people have heard, have thought about it this way before. It's fascinating, and it really makes you think. But Seth, I want to. There's only so much time with Norma, and I want to go on to some more things. You mentioned, Norma, something about women, like that in our society there's like a very specific and a lot of the times negative pressure on women, and one of the things you've been talking to Dr. Lightman about is the development of women empowerment to maybe a whole new place, a whole new era. You've been talking about how the world perhaps needs to or is going through some change in this direction as well, where women are supposed to accompany, right, our development to a new connected state. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. This is also a new perspective. This is something new that I haven't heard anywhere else. And that's why I appreciate so much what Kabbalah is bringing to the world, and regardless the gender. And as a woman, I can tell you that I feel empowered through the wisdom of Kabbalah, the teachings of Kabbalah, more than anything else. Why? And the reason is that Kabbalah is telling me, or Dr. Lightman, as a Kabbalist who is bringing this wisdom to the world, is revealing this meaning to everyone, making it available to everyone, is teaching us that the role of women is to lead the way. Everything starts with a desire. You know that you can see it in society. It doesn't matter where, but if we want something to happen, everything should start through women. Otherwise, it won't happen. I mean, we are the ones who's gonna be able to push men to deliver what we want, unless you have a different opinion. But that's my impression. Tell me if I'm wrong. And you can see it in all the levels of the world, and all the levels of society. Who decides what to buy in the supermarket? But this is for on the corporeal level. But in general, about education and health, everything depends on women's desire.
I just want to add something. You asked me what's my opinion. I remember I went into this a little bit in terms of research. There are many psychologists that are seeing every action that is happening in the world and that is driven by men is because, consciously or not, and most of the time not, we're trying to impress the woman. It's something that to impress and fulfill and provide for and so on. And so there's this interesting dynamic between male and female that is more than what meets the eye. And there is like a force that is working there in that dynamic between men and women. And so, to put it in very simple words, it's very possible.
I always thought that today, I mean, it's, of course, in the past, when women didn't have, like, in the United States, a right to vote or something, it's different. But today, in today's modern world, I thought that if the woman were really, really clever, like withheld sex and withheld affection and withheld, like, they could get the men to do basically anything. If they were, and you see also, especially with modern educated women, that they try and fight or become equal with men by being like manly, with all of the men qualities. But you can take 100 powerful men, and I'm not even talking about the quote unquote magazine beautiful. You take a woman who's feminine, it doesn't matter really what color the hair or the man feels like, on an animal level or an emotional level, something from here. He'll be distracted from his business deal or whatever it is. The women, and so of course we're talking corporeality because it's easy to understand, but the women, it just seems so natural that the women can really, if they are, I don't mean to be like talking at you, Norma. You're just getting me. My mind is stimulated by that. Really,
Inspired.
the men, the men would, like Asaf said. I mean, I'm sure wars have been fought over it, and empires have been built to inspire to win the favor of a woman.
But this is, Norma, say a few more words about it. There is a huge thing that is happening here. We all know that the world was mostly driven by men until this point in time. And you've been talking, in your conversations at least, with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman, you're talking about a situation where one of the aspects of the new world is that women are going to be more in charge. And why is that good? And what is it in a woman, in the female force, that we need in the world today? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. Up until now, we've seen wars, disturbances, problems, economical failures. And those situations have been caused by who? By men. So we are the fixers. This
Trying
is
to
the
impress
time to
women.
fix. I mean, I think it's a fact. It's a fact. Men have been playing games
I want to challenge you.
throughout history, ruling the world, and now it's a time for women to act like the mother of the world.
Okay, so differentiate that from feminism and whatever. Maybe people are hearing us and they're thinking, okay, women empowerment, Me Too movement. Is that what you're talking about? And what is the exact quality that we're looking for that needs to emerge now in this rise of women?
I respect everyone's opinions, and in my opinion, my personal opinion,
yours.
I don't agree with any kind of fight against men. I think that we are different for a purpose, and it's a good one, because that's the way to complement each other. And throughout history, we have been competing. We've been trying to be men, and it won't happen, and it shouldn't happen. And I don't want it to happen. I'm very happy to be a woman. I think that we have all the skills, the intelligence, and also the sensitivity to bring those special characteristics of women for the benefit of society. And this is to complement men's role. I'm not saying that we need to belittle men's role. I think we have to complement each other instead of competing.
There's such a good
Well
energy
said.
here now.
Well
Thank you very
said.
much. I want to tell you
Beautifully said.
who's with us, Norma. We have friends who are joining us, and Bright, thank you for organizing this for us on Facebook and YouTube, Norma, just so you understand what's going on here. You got Afghanistan, Ami in Afghanistan, maybe others, but Ami, so she's here from Afghanistan, Nigeria, South Africa, California, Angola, Philadelphia, Quebec, Miami, Chile, South America, Colorado, United Kingdom, Denmark, Europe, St. Louis, Germany, Los Angeles, British Columbia, Israel, South Carolina, Brazil, France, Pittsburgh, Russia, New York, Guatemala, St. Louis, Florida, Ethiopia, hi Samson and Baruch, Holland, Connecticut, North Carolina, Iowa, Mexico, Washington, Ohio, San Francisco, Toronto, Spain, Turkey, Norway, Angola, Uganda, and Argentina.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but unbelievable.
Oh boy.
I'm so happy.
To all the
everybody,
friends.
it is so wonderful to be connected and to be educating ourselves and to be involved in this conversation, so we can be like those mountain climbers that are flirting, that are dancing with nature, and not to be in chaos about what's going on in the world around us, but to be in confidence and to feel connected to this big force together, and to understand this new world we're going into. This, actually, we talked about the flirt before, and we're talking about the masculine and the feminine, and we're talking about us. So also humanity is called, all of humanity, men and women together, are called female, towards the towards nature, which is called male, which fills us with life. So we're talking here about, men and women. And then prior to that in the show, we were talking about this kind of flirt. So it's all, there's a whole macrocosm, microcosm, a whole process that we're involved in. It's actually, if we can every day think of, I wish, Saf, maybe we'd do the show every day. If we could somehow always be in this together, then we would wake up in the morning and when we feel empty and longing, we realize, my lover is calling me. Where is she? What can I do? How can I prepare myself for this? Instead of I wake up and say, oh, damn it, this bill and this, and my kids were screaming, and such a different perspective when you have a frame, right? I show up at the bottom of Mount Everest and I'm cold, and where's my hot soup and where's my coffee? And versus the other guy, he shows up at Mount Everest, he's been preparing for 5 years. He can't wait to start climbing.
I wanna take advantage of having Norma here to talk about another thing that she can probably really give a perspective on. You've been into the mainstream media. You know how it works. You worked for it, inside of it, and then today you have this perspective from many years already, from the wisdom of Kabbalah, and you're doing media in a new way, kind of like a pioneer of new media for the new world. What do you think should be the future role of media? As a media personality, I'm asking you.
Yeah, before we get into that, I just would like to put into perspective what's happening now with the media, the traditional one, and also the social media, so we can get into the solution or the new world that we expect to have or create. That it's really up to us to mold or to shape. First of all, then you can also see it every day when you watch television or you're connected through the internet, and you see that there is an avalanche of unreliable and misleading information that is spreading around the world at an alarming rate. And especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic, there are many conspiracy
It's so
theories.
fast that we can't even, we can't keep up. This is what we started the show today with. It's like there's no way to keep up with what's happening. Who knows what's right and wrong? Yeah.
Exactly. So, in that misleading information is also putting lives at risk, and we can change that by fostering trust and trying to build credibility within society. And the way to do it is the way we relate to each other. The problem, the way I see it as the journalist, is that we're so used to that kind of bombarding information that we are receiving on a daily basis, that we ended up thinking that that's the truth, and it's not. So there's an offer because there's a demand, and that's what we need to change, and we have the means to do it. We are in charge of the new generation, so it's really up to us to have a change of mind. First of all, everything should start with our thoughts, the way we think, the way to relate to the information we get. Try to eliminate what we feel is not something that is going to nurture society, that is going to nurture our relations. And that's the main problem now. That's the main challenge, the way I see it. So it's not the amount of information we get, but the quality of it.
So what kind of media would you if you had the authority now to redo the media, or even to just open like one huge channel, global channel for the whole world, what would be the main thing you would do with it?
That's a very big question, Asaf. Thank you. Now you put me in trouble. It's a huge, huge question. And I think someone who has the key to that question is going to solve the world's problems, because everything starts with education of all the generations. It's not only for the children. Adults also have to be educated. And by education, what I mean is to change our minds and hearts. We need to try to connect to each other as much as possible, because that's the only force that will help us to thrive. So if you ask me what would be the best advice for someone who's going to be in charge of creating such a kind of multimedia worldwide organization or media organization, is to think, first of all, what can help people to unite, what can bring us together as one humanity. We know now that we are an integral world. We are part of one system. And again, this pandemic, in that sense, of course, nobody's happy because of all the victims and the problems, but it's at the same time a blessing, because it brings this kind of consciousness that we are in the same boat. We're part of one system. There's no difference of a background or nationality. We are all in the same situation. So we need to also find a solution as one.
Norma, you're speaking on a high level for all humanity, that education is what you would do if there was an opportunity. That's what people need, not just children, but to educate. So we're all one. But let's now go down to the each individual level. We also have friends here from Portugal. Connecticut also joined, but Amina joined our show for the first time on Sunday, I think it was, from Afghanistan. She's asking a question here, which is, if you could interpret what you said on a very high level, it could apply. But sometimes when things happen to us in our personal lives, it affects us in a different way. And she's saying, how can we develop a positive mind when everything around us is under lockdown? One of my relatives passed away due to COVID-19. Another relative, my aunt, is also affected, and I'm feeling very disappointed. Or feeling very upset. So how does, so we talked about the global solution and understanding what's happening. How can a person who's watching us somewhere, anywhere in the world, what can they take from all of this?
I think that the answer is a mutual responsibility. At the end of the day, if I do good to you, it's gonna permeate the whole society. Even with a single thought, you can move mountains. We could make a real change by thinking about the other, not in a harmful way, but trying to understand, to have some kind of sympathy to others, not being indifferent to the pain or to the needs of others. And I'm talking here not about the corporeal thing. It's not like, giving bread to someone who's hungry, but the intention that you should have inside your heart to do that, to do good to others. And if every person does this kind of action, then it's gonna replicate. It's gonna have a domino effect in a positive way all over the world. And then we're going to have a world that is more balanced, that is warm, that is full of love. It's not only nice words. I think we need to start with very small, even small, the smallest action every day, with the friends, with at your workplace, at school, in every level. Then we're going to create a force that is so strong and warm and full of love that you're going to feel that it's a life worth living.
Yeah, just taking into account Amina's not uneasy state right now, and the fact that you're with us now, I just want to add another sentence here, another word about it. We're all We're all going through a roller coaster, not just globally but personally as well. And that roller coaster now hit you. You know, you hit you in a certain place. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. But if we have an environment that works to pick you up all the time, then you will be able to maintain a positive mindset. And the fact that you're with us here right now is really the only thing you need to do. Just to surround yourself whenever you can, as much as you can, like Norma said, with a positive kind of environment, and then you'll be able to more quickly come out of the negative hard
When I wake up in the
states.
morning, I think of Asaf, I think of you. Norma, today I thought of you. I think of all of the people who are in the world now who are yearning. I think of the, sometimes when I can remember, I think of all the people that tune into our show. Because you wake up and it's like, not only do you have to put your socks and your shirt on, but you have to dress into this mindset as well, because otherwise we just live like a cow. You know, I need to get my coffee, I need to brush my teeth, I need to go get my money, but we have to dress into this perspective as well. So Amina and everybody here, you heard all of the countries, you heard all the people who are coming here together. Think about these other people, and like Norma, like you said so clearly, what our teacher Rav Lightman said, it's not about what you see on the face. You can do it from within your heart. We can now, when we close the show and we go somewhere else and go off to do something else, you're cooking dinner, you're driving somewhere, think about all of these people. Think about the people all over the world now who are yearning for this together, who are in this together with us. We're not alone in this, and we're learning. The virus is from nature now, helping us learn that we don't just need to be hugging you. I don't just need to be seeing you in front of my face and seeing your reaction to me, but that these heart connections are becoming stronger. And then we'll start to feel each other there and start to give each other confidence from inside of these heart connections. And we'll wake up in the morning and we'll feel connected to this whole spiritual network. We are, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you said. There are so many examples, like yourself, Seth. You are a musician, a very, very talented one. And through music, you're not just producing music for the sake of doing it. You are thinking about how you can bring humanity together through music, which is something so nice, and that everyone can relate to it, no matter where they are or who they are. And that's a way to connect. So everyone from their own field can do the same. Think about others as their own family.
Oh boy, what a setup. You don't know what you just did, Norma. We didn't plan this.
I've been honest. I'm a fan of Seth.
No, this
what
is the
can
perfect. It's the perfect setup, because we have to wrap up the show. We're 5 minutes after our deadline here, and we have a special surprise here that we're all going to enjoy, and it is Seth's new song. That he finished producing together with Tush and from the UK, and Denny Weisfeld from Israel, and other friends. I probably don't know all of them. So
Juan Rico from Holland, and
there you go.
Katz from Israel. Yeah.
So this is. I love this song. You're going to listen to it now, but I just want to mention to all the quarantine viewers, you guys saw it here first. When Amit was on the show here, he urged Seth to pick up the guitar and play something, and he played a draft of this song. Now you're going to hear the fully produced version. Thank you, Norma, for this beautiful segue into this. And
it was by chance. I didn't know, I promise.
Thank you in general.
Connected.
For being with us. Thanks everyone for being with us. Thank you all the people in those so many places around the world. Let's really take this one in. It's a really good one. And you know what? There's a power line in it that says, Seth, how does it go? We don't wait for it to happen. We determine what will happen.
We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen.
That's what we're capable of doing if we're doing it together. We'll see you next time on, what day is it today? Thursday? So Sunday. We'll see you on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. You should stay with us for this song, and we'll see you on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you, friends. for the connection.